Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. What's unjust is unjust, regardless who are at the receiving end or at the delivery end of the equation. In this case, we have an article coming from Republic World, and it's an Indian media outlet, and they talk about a documentary that BBC, yes, from Great Britain, uh, I think they're about to bring it up about the Indian Prime Minister Modi, and there are a lot of people who criticized how the Prime Minister of India Modi was portrayed by the Brits, by the BBC. Don't forget, BBC has some. I don't know what the proportion is, but I know that the state, it's state owned to a certain extent, BBC. You know, as much as we call Russia Today as being Russian media propaganda, NPR is a state owned media outlet in the United States of America, PBS, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, but since those are on the good world and the other ones are on the bad world, we believe them. No. So let's see what job these guys did on Prime Minister Modi that I like. I don't like him as much as Foreign Minister Jai Shankar, which for me is from 0 to 10 is a 10. Modi is a 9.5, so it's there, okay? Let's see what the BBC did to this great Prime Minister. Great in my assessment. This article comes, as I said, Republic World, and it's from today, January 21st, 2023. And I'm quoting, "No facts and incomplete ignorance of SC verdict. Ex-diplomats slam BBC docuseries on Prime Minister Modi." Here it is. Mr. Modi, and is it gonna be? No, yes, whatever. That. Okay, so this is the whole thing. I would tell you my direct experience with BBC and with this series, for instance, History Channel, okay, where I realized that, wait a minute, these guys are not telling the whole story, or they just give you parts of the story. Okay, let's go get it on with this article. Slamming BBC over documentary on Prime Minister Modi, former diplomats said that by quoting incorrect facts about Prime Minister Modi, UK is trying to whip up an anti-India sentiments. Well, whip up anti-India sentiments. Wait a minute. We got Mr. Prime Minister of UK. What are we doing with that guy? With Maharishi? Isn't he Indian? Anyway, amid the raging outrage over the BBC documentary, retired bureaucrats on Saturday stood out in support of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and said that the documentary lacks factual reporting. Slamming the news broadcaster, the former diplomat said that by quoting incorrect facts about Prime Minister Modi, the UK is trying to whip up anti-India sentiments and destroy relations with India. Well, what about Mr. Maharishi? Rishi Sunak, right? And I'm quoting here. "There's no factual reporting in the BBC documentary. They've completely ignored the decisions of the Supreme Court of India, the 452-page judgment of the Supreme Court completely exonerated Prime Minister Modi and explained how the incidents took place." End quote. News agency ANI quoted ex-ambassador to Bangladesh Vrina Sikri as saying, end quote, the whole quote, suspecting an anti-Sunak element in the UK. So those guys don't like, we got Sunak as a prime minister, so they try to attack him on that area. Sikri added, and I'm quoting, "By putting blame on Prime Minister Modi without verifying facts, BBC has wholly destroyed its credibility." Well, that happened a long time ago, for me at least. "I also suspect a strong domestic angle in the UK against Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. They're trying to whip up anti-Indian sentiments and destroy relations with India, end quote. That could be it. I mean, remember, Sunak is very wealthy, his wife is wealthy, he's an educated person, he's a successful, maybe successful too, successful individual, he's young, seemed to be intelligent, all right, by his achievements, and not only, now he's the Prime Minister of the Great Britain, so I don't see any problem, but anyway, it's sometimes it's about preferences, but let's move on and see what's going on here. And I'm quoting, adding to Sikri's comments, the former ambassador to India to the Netherlands, Bashwati Mukherjee, said, and I'm quoting, BBC has a troubled record in dealing with India as it appears to have a colonial mindset with regard to India. It does these programs which are highly discriminatory and funded by private partners, not the British government. End quote. Like if it were coming from British government would be better. But anyway, 302 signatories rebut BBC documentary. Amid the ongoing controversy over the BBC documentary, 302 signatories, including retired judges, retired bureaucrats, and retired armed forces veterans, issued a statement rebutting the documentary, issuing a statement that signatories said that the, and I'm quoting, staple died in the wool negatively and unrelentingly prejudice of the BBC toward India have resurfaced as a documentary. And I'm quoting, the letter read, not only, and I'm quoting again, not only is the BBC series, judging from what we have seen of it so far based on delusional and evidently reporting, but presumes to question the very basis of the 75-year-old edifice of India's existence as an independent democratic nation, a nation which functions according to the will of people of India, end quote. Fantastic. So, and I'm quoting again, now we have a British media organization, the BBC, which naturally thrives on the sensationalism of how false its basis is, setting itself up to second guess and dismiss the verdict of the apex of the Indian judiciary, the Supreme Court. This alone exposes the BBC's malafide and leads one to question the motivations behind this series, end quote, the letter added. Well, we're in deep doo-doo, it seems like. Now, let me tell you how I got to understand BBC, and I got to understand BBC like this. I used to have some recordings, and real recordings from how the first atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945 by the Americans, over a city, civilians. How is that called? Can't say it, but you know what I mean. Now, when that happened, this is how BBC reported that. The United States dropped an atomic bomb over military installations located blah 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 Hiroshima. So military installations. No, we know that was incorrect. Now you can say, well, BBC told us what actually the Americans reported them. Yeah, but sometimes you don't just say like that, do you? And maybe you come and say, well, maybe those guys just destroyed the whole town, the whole city. How about that? So when I heard that, maybe in 2003, maybe I heard that recording. So I've been aware from them that, hey, maybe BBC is not really what everybody talks about being better than others. Probably. But still. That was the first one. And the second one was with History Channel. I knew, in this case, a subject related to the Second World War very, very, very well. Very well. I was very good at it, that particular event. And it was a documentary on the History Channel talking about they were trying to make a point, basically, their narrative, and they created a narrative to reach that point. But in that narrative, to reach that point, you had to include this subject that I was, and I'm very, very good at. I know it by heart, and I know I went this this in it, not like that only. Okay, so deep. And I realized that a day when they were just discussing that particular event, which would have determined a different outcome of the whole documentary, because they said, okay, this is what happened, this is the conclusion. Well, if you say it in a certain way in that little part, yeah, you reach that conclusion, but that means ignoring information, historical events that would contradict your final point, which that's what it was. And since then I said, you know what, since just because I know a lot about that subject, I know how these guys from History Channel were able to ignore that evidence, that so that would fit the narrative for the final point. Now, when I see this in the BBC with Prime Minister Modi, I'm not surprised at all if the interest is there. I'm not surprised. You just take, parts of whatever that happened or whatever I said. For instance, in this little video that I have right here, you can take certain parts, put them together, and they will sound, I said it, but the context matters a lot. And not only that, I will give you an example. Remember, maybe you are aware with that claim by some idiots when they say, God is dead. God is dead. Friedrich Nietzsche said that, one of my favorite philosophers, German, by the way. And he said, well, God is dead. But they don't tell you the rest of the whole quote. And we killed him. We are the ones who killed him. They changed the whole thing. But you say, oh, Nietzsche said God is dead. But no, God is not dead. God is still alive. I heard it in church a lot. Yeah, I go to church to understand. I used to go more to understand and balance and find certain kind of answers and look around and understand the whole dynamics in the church. The people here, the people over there, look around, see how people, and anyway. So they use that a lot, saying, well, God is dead, the philosophers, the stupid, people read the Bible. Okay, whatever, read the Bible. Free world, I guess. But on the other hand, they didn't say the end. But we are the ones who killed him. And that would change everything if you read the whole thesis that, or the point Nietzsche makes. So I think it's enough as an example. It's not surprising that these guys at BBC did a job on Modi. And it's no surprise, and I tell you why. I think it's related to Modi's in a free and independent position regarding Russia and the West, because he was supposed to be a weasel as Jai Shankar, but they're not, in supporting something without being in their own interest or, just jumping because the US tell them to jump. So they didn't do that. So now we're going to have Modi. We're going to find out that Modi, has 50 wives, and maybe he's a pedophile, and maybe he's a this and he's of that. We're going to, we're waiting for that. Why? Some people might say that, or it's unfortunate, but this is the way things work. I'm expecting more than just, Modi this and Modi that. So I'm sorry it happens to him, but I'm pretty sure he's is not surprising to him as well. Too bad. I like Modi. I think he's a very balanced, intelligent, and courageous individual. And he fights for his country, not for other countries. His country first. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.